Hey there folks, I've test driven the car and here's the report on things. I noted that the car did not run well, as there are quite a few buggy warning lights on the dash. Anytime that happens, first thing I do is I go to the diagnostic scanner and I run a complete scan on all the car's computers, and that's what you're looking at is the results of that diagnostic scan. So this is kind of like x-rays and blood tests at the doctor's office. Now I'm going to go through this and make this easy to understand and stay away from a bunch of technical double talk. But suffice it to say, this is a listing of all your car's computers. On page 1 here, there's page 2, and then page 3, and yep, your car's got that many different computers. Now on these computers you'll see a name in the far right hand column of a given computer, and then you'll see whether it's okay, it's happy, or if it's in red, it'll have an F, which means there's a fault inside of it, and it's not happy. So let's look at the engine computer first. That's the Big Daddy computer, and that's the one that controls that check engine light that's coming on, and it also makes a picture. It's not showing up here now, but it makes a picture of the engine here. A picture of a motor pop up too whenever it goofs up. When we look at this Big Daddy computer here, and I call it the Big Daddy computer because it's the primary computer. Not only does it cause the lights to come on, but it controls how well the car runs, and it talks to all the other computers that I just showed you to let them know that the Big Daddy's okay, then they can be okay. And the fault here is the throttle valve actuator. Now what a throttle valve actuator is, it's down here by the gas pedal. Years ago it used to be a wire that simply connected throttle pedal, so when you stomp the throttle pedal there's a wire that went and pulled the little cable underneath the hood. Not so anymore. Now they use what's called a throttle actuator, and it sits inside buried underneath this big, what they call plenum chamber itself. Yours has 2 throttle bodies. This is a 10-cylinder engine, high performance engine. Most cars have 1. Your car is special, it's got 2. The one that's showing bad is over here on the right hand side. So it's buried somewhere down there. It's kind of like a wedding cake. There's layer after layer of engine, and it's toward the very bottom of the engine itself. Now over here, when we go back here, you also had lights coming on. That was the picture of a circle and a triangle. I'm going to see if I can get it to show up. And I'll show you how that throttle valve actuator, or tell you how that has to do with that particular light. There we go. You see the circle with the triangle? That light's coming on because the traction control is not happy. And going back to our diagnostic scanner, we see that reflected right here in this fault, in this computer, which is called the dynamic stability control computer itself. Let me shut the door to get rid of the dinging. This particular computer counts on this computer being happy and healthy. If this computer goes feet up, which it has, or if there's faults rather in the computer, it's not the computer that's the problem. It's the actual component. That's the throttle actuator that's inside the computer itself. The computer's watching it. But whenever this one sets a fault, it will cause this one to set a fault, and that's why you're having so many different buggy lights coming on. So the short version of this is you need to have a throttle valve actuator that will make the Big Daddy computer happy, and then it will also get the traction control computer happy as well. Not really worried about this one here, the air conditioning computer. That's an incidental. It's got an incidental, what they call recirculation sensor, common for those that fail on these cars. Doesn't really affect the air conditioning at this point. Don't even worry about that. Come summertime, if you're having a little problem there, we can come back and visit that. But right now, the key is to get that throttle valve actuator. Now, the big deal on this car, as I mentioned to you, the analogy of the wedding cake, the entire top side of the motor here has to be pulled apart. And then the new unit's got to be put in there. The unit's pricey. The labor service is intensive. It's highly skilled work. It's got to be calibrated just right when you put it all back together. high performance engine, so you got to take your time, know what you're doing. It's, you know, it requires some technical prowess to do it. And once it's done, then it's done. But we'll send you an estimate. But I can tell you this, looking at just kind of roughing it out, you're looking at about $2,000. And one cautionary note, underneath this intake, you've got a bunch of these what they call plastic hoses that go in underneath the engine itself. Over the years, there's a lot of heat that builds up underneath there. Some of those hoses crack and break. You won't know until we get in there and actually do it. We're careful to use caution when disconnecting them, but sometimes inadvertently they break. That adds to the cost, and it adds to the delay. And since we're talking about delay, this is a special order part. You're probably looking at, before this could be done, Friday of next week would be, we need to go ahead and get started on it on Monday and get into it. By the time we get it apart, get the parts ordered, special ordered, put it all back together, you're looking at probably a Friday commitment time on it. We'll send you a detailed estimate along with this video, but I'm saying it's going to be somewhere around $2,000. I know that, and that's if none of the little plastic hoses break. Look it over, let us know what you want to do, and if you decide not to fix it, we could have it ready as soon as Friday, tomorrow, to pick it up.